right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue with our work in Web Lab. Just as a reminder, because it's been a minute, because we just came off of spring break, we have been working in Web Lab, and primarily we have been working with um, basic animation features. We introduced the concept of a variable. And we have been learning how to place things on our grid so far. Okay, so that's what we have been up to so far. So now we are in Unit 3, Lesson 6, and we're going to, as always, start with bubble number 1. Okay, so you now have a new block in our math drawer. So now we had a drawing drawer and now we have a math drawer. So this is our toolbox. It's going to have a lot of different drawers in here. The cool thing is the drawing block, see how the drawing comes up as blue? All of the drawing blocks are blue. And then the math box is orange. Anything that is math related, the code box will be orange. Okay. So you have a new block in the math called random number. If you make drawings with random numbers, it will look a little bit different every time you run the program because it's pulling up a random number. Duh. And you can learn about the blocks by hovering over the toolbox and choosing See Examples. So anytime that you are confused about how to use something, you can hover over the code. And you can, by the way, you can do this in the drawing, any of these, you hover over, and then it says See Examples. So again, if you pull that up, it will show you different ways of using the code, just so that you are aware of how to do it, okay? It tells you what it does, and then it shows some examples. Now, the examples are always in text form, unfortunately, and I know many of you are much more comfortable using the block form, so there's that. All right, so let's see how this looks. So I have fill orange, so I'm making an orange ellipse. I'm making an orange circle. Now, I just want to remind everybody that when I'm making an ellipse, my first number is my X location. My second number is my Y location on the grid. My third number is the width, and the last number is the height. Okay, so if I run this, notice I have a random number in my X location. So if I run it once, it shows up over here, my little orange circle. Awesome. If I reset and run it again, notice that it's a different location. It is pulling up any random number between 0 and 400 for my X location, because that first number where I inserted the random number is the X position. Reset run, it's at a different location. Reset run, it's at a different location again. So hopefully what you'll notice is that this is how we are going to start creating some movement in our animations. Okay, but not a whole lot to do here. This is just learning what it does and seeing how it functions. Obviously, if I put the random number in the Y location, then the Y would be random. If I put it in the width, then the width would randomly change. And if I put it in the height, then the height would randomly change. That being said, we will be working on those things throughout today's lesson. Moving on to bubble number 2. Again, just go ahead and hit finish there. All right, it says here is the same sun from last time. Right now, only the X coordinate is random, but you can make the Y coordinate random as well. Do this. Use the random number for the ellipse's Y parameter so that the circle is drawn in a random Y position as well. As long as your circle is appearing at random X and Y positions, you can move on. Awesome. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my grid, and I'm going to run this. And this is the same program from before, only my X is random. So now, reset, I'm going to go into my math drawer. I'm going to pull random number into my Y location. And I am going to change these from 0 to 400. This is going to mean that it is going to, in this location, it is going to create any random number between 0 and 400, because again, that's the size of my grid, 0 to 400. You don't use any numbers bigger than 400 for a Y location. So now if I run this, notice it's down here and over here. And if I reset and I run it again, it moved up and over. Reset, run it again, up and over. I have a random X location and a random Y location because I have used the random number generator in both the X and the Y position. Once you have completed that, make sure you go ahead and hit finish. Okay. Let me make sure I'm making sure. Variable, excuse me, variables and random numbers. Awesome. So remember variables where we create a variable and then we just use that variable instead of having to retype the number 100 different times every time I want to change it. Okay, so variables can be assigned a random number as well. This lets you have a single random value so you can use it as many times as you want throughout your program. Do this. Assign a random number to the variable I size so that the eyes automatically change size every time you run the program. Remember, the left and right eyes should always match each other. All right, so if I hit run now, reset run, the eyes are just staying the same. So what I need to do, I'm going to reset this one more time. I'm going to make this slightly bigger so it's easier to see. I'm going to go into my math drawer. I'm going to grab my random number and I'm going to pull it in. Now, these are just the eyes. So I don't want to go 0 to, 400 because that would make the eyes as big as the screen. So maybe I'm going to go a random number, maybe from 10 to 100. That'll make them pretty big. So I'm saying here, what this code is telling me is anytime I use the variable I size, the program is going to randomly pick a number somewhere between 10 and 100 to create an I size. So that's going to change the size of the eyes down here in code in the lines 12 and 13 of my code. All right, so let's see how that works. If I hit reset, so they're small, reset, run, they're bigger, reset, run, kind of small again, reset, run, and again, they're kind of really large. Okay, so every time you run the program, the eyes are slightly different sized because again, the eye size variable has now been assigned a random number somewhere between 10 and 100. Okay, moving on. Make sure you hit finish. Continue. And again, if you're not hitting these orange buttons for finish at the bottom, please be aware I don't see your work then. So you may have done the work, and if you're not hitting the finish buttons, it doesn't get sent to me. Okay, changing variable values. These two flowers use a single variable to sort their petal size, but the value stored in the variable changes in the middle of the program. Do this. Run the program several times to see how it works. We will discuss, change the program so that the flowers have random petal sizes as in the image. So you can see in the image, at any given time, the two flowers have different petal sizes. Okay, and that's what we want to have it do. So run, show grid. All right, it doesn't look like it's changing at all, which is interesting. All right, so let's see if this will work. If I pull in a random number, let me reset this. So I have petal size on line code of line 4 of the code, which is set to 30, and that will affect 6 through 10. And then I have petal size down here, which is set to 60, and that is for lines 18 through 21. So I want to do a random number for both petal sizes, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull those in to line 4 and line 15. And then I'm going to set, again, random number, I'm going to say 10 to 100. Random numbers, 10 to 100. And I'm just choosing these numbers. You can go 0 to 400, but that would, like, to me, that's too much. All right, so again, on line 4 and line 15, I pulled in the random number box and I set it. Default is 1 to 10. I set it to 10 to 100. That's just what I chose to do. So now when I run the program, you can see that every time I run it, the petals of each separate flower are a slightly different size. And I hope you're getting the idea that this is how, on some instances, we are going to be using this to create animations. That's where we're going with this eventually. Okay, once you're done, go ahead and hit finish. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so your task for today is on bubble 5. You will do bubbles A and B. In bubble A, you are going to make it so the planets have different sizes using random numbers. And on bubble B, you want to randomly shape, debug it so that the random shape position, so all the triangles stay together and stay stacked, kind of like a flag. For bubble 6, which you will also be working on today during the remainder of our time, you are going to have a rainbow snake. So you are going to create a rainbow snake like this that is then going to make the bodies move up and down like the first 3. So the first 3 are done for you. So you can kind of see, if I put the grid on, it's a little easier to see. The snake's body is moving up and down kind of randomly every time you run the program. Your job is to finish off the snake. You need to add a green, blue, and purple dot and make them bubble up and down, jump up and down, kind of like they do in the image. And then number 7. These are just more for practice. Again, it's optional. If you wanted to do these, I would definitely try and do maybe B and C are sort of like 2 nice ones. Random colorization is on A. So these are kind of fun ones to play with. But again, optional, not necessary. All right. I'm going to end the recording here.